change is not possible without awareness, because you have to be aware of when you're in the cycle that you want to change, right? You have to be aware. So present moment awareness is huge. Present moment is also huge because the present moment is the only time change can occur. Mm-hmm. But awareness changes nothing. This is another thing that can cause a lot of stress and anxiety in people's lives, because they're like, I see it. I'm doing it all the time. I'm catching myself. I'm seeing it. I'm aware of it. And you can stay there. And that is like the road to nowhere. It's just, it's so frustrating to be on that road. You have to put it into action. You have to take the action. When you see it, act. When you see it, act. When you see it, act. As opposed to just seeing it. See it and act. Welcome back to the Yogi Triathlete Podcast. I'm here with Beej, and this is our O Show. It is August 2021, and we're here to share open and honestly, and we're going to see what comes up. The confessional. Actually, speaking of the confessional, I wrote something in my journal the other day, and I was like, I wonder if I should read that on the podcast. Anyway, I might do that. I'm looking at it right now. See what that is and see if it's relevant to the conversation that arises today. But psyched to be here. I can't believe we're like, when did we start this? 2016. Is that 5 years? Yeah, we're like over 5 years into this, almost 300 episodes at this point. And actually today on Yogi Triathlete, we posted a throwback of an episode we recorded in September of 2019, which is entitled Untold Stories. I can't remember the number of it. It was like 170 something.
Can't remember.
But we went back and actually were listening to it today. And it's really talking about that time of like 2017, 2018, when we were going all in, and it was so scary. And you talk about how scary it was for you, which I didn't realize. Like, as you're talking about it on the podcast, I'm learning it for the first time, how scared you actually were. And we got a question about like moments when we were just about to like throw in the towel, which were many, but some were more heavy than others. And so listening to that, and how there were so many times where we were like, my God, should we still do the podcast? Should we not do the podcast? And through it all, we stayed the course. And I think that when I listen to it now, 2021, being almost 300 episodes in, having this amazing team with 2 additional coaches on the team, I feel like we're living the vision that drove us forward in those moments of fear. And so anybody who is pursuing a dream, it's going to get messy. And you are going to be brought to your knees, and that's just how it goes. And there was a part of me that knew that was going to happen, because as I listened to people who were living the life that they desired, let's take Rich and Julie, for example, like Rich Roll and Julie Pyatt. We were paying pretty close attention to them, like when they launched their podcast. There was a part of me that knew that we too were going to be navigating some pretty scary things. And there was also something about hearing their stories. There was a part of me that kind of craved that adventure of living on the edge, like the edge of everything you dream of and total annihilation. And we are living everything that we dream. And that doesn't mean that total annihilation is not always right there, because the problem and the solution are born at the same time. The black and the white are there at the same time. They can't coexist. So wherever your focus is what you're going to be experiencing. And I feel like what I'm experiencing now is the life of my dreams.
Yeah, we're living the dream. And I think when people see
our dream, it's not everybody's dream.
No, not at all. It's specific to us. Like, this is what we feel is ideal, going to the pool, getting out for an early hike, like we did today. And I know we'll talk about that, but I think when people see what we're doing in life, they see that, and they don't see so much of the struggle, or the moments that we just described, that you've worked so hard and you get to that point and where most people turn around and say, oh, this is too much. Like, I can't do this. That is where we exercise the muscle to continually go on despite all the signs that said don't. So I love that we posted that podcast. I want to finish listening to it. Of course, I'm listening to it and I'm listening to hear my voice and I'm like, "Argh."
What? I can't believe you still have that reaction to your voice.
Yeah.
What happens? What comes up for you? We're going to dissect this. Yeah. What is the essence of the feeling when you hear your voice?
I think it goes to yoga teacher training where it just get to the point.
Were you traumatized in yoga teacher training and now listening to the
point?
Listening to the podcast.
Get to the good stuff.
Bringing up a trauma response. We were traumatized. Everybody should do that yoga teacher training.
It's transformative. Really should. Yeah.
Yeah, because you asked me in the car today, like something like, what do you think when you hear your voice? And I just don't, I've been through that phase where I was like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Like, oh, I sound so stupid. Oh, you say like a million times. Don't say but so much. And now I'm just I actually forget that it's me, which allows me to appreciate the content that moves through me. And I think also from yoga teacher training, not taking any credit for the words that come through. Like, I'll own the things that, I'll own it all. But like, they're not my words. They're coming through me. So there's a piece of ownership that I have to it. But, if something Brill comes through, like, the ego wants to grab onto that. But I just remind myself, like, they're just words. They're not my words. They're just words that are floating out there in the ether. And they come through me. Or
somebody else that you listen to, or the book you listen to.
Right.
Or it takes many different forms. The person on the trail who says something in passing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you feel when you hear your voice?
I just feel I could speak more clearly, more specific, more maybe gathering the thought and being more clear with the thought. Now, that's not to say I don't feel there's moments. You heard it the other day. I was like, oh, that's good. You know, and I wanted to write it down. I probably heard it from somebody else. It doesn't matter. But it resonated. It's just fine tuning your craft.
That's the vulnerability factor, right? Of turning on these like there was nothing about you that was like, I want to be behind a microphone and start a podcast.
No, not at all.
I don't want to
stand in front of a room and teach yogis and like to be in that pressure. In my mind, it's pressure. Not anymore. But it's not something I was excited about.
Where do you feel most at home? Like, where in your professional career, personal life, like, where do you feel most at home where it's just effortless?
Being alone. That's my first answer. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. I think being alone, I think I'm pretty good at it. You went away to the Cape for 7 days or 8 days, and I was like, what?
Well, I think you're better at it because, like, years ago, you'd be a little clingy when I went away.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how am I going to do it without you?
Yes.
I thought you were going to give a different answer.
What'd you think?
I thought you were going to say on the deck at the pool.
I do love that. What we did on Sunday was amazing.
What did we do on Sunday?
That fills my cup up. It overflows my cup.
Tell that story, and I'm going to grab my journal because it keeps looking at me.
I'll grab it right now.
So the book I'm reading right now is called Diana Herself, an allegory of awakening. And one of the athletes that I work with was reading it. She's like, I really want somebody else to read this. So I got it at the library, which the library is like one of my favorite places. And it's really good. It's definitely the story of an awakening. It's a fictional tale, but it's very good. So I'm reading that right now. Highly recommend. It's written by Martha Beck. Tell the story.
Yeah, Sunday we have a growing local group of athletes on the team who can get together, and we've been doing some pretty cool workouts. And this past Sunday was a meetup at Alga, the beautiful pool that I post about consistently on Instagram. I just love that place. We were at it today. I just love it. So we all met there, and we had a 1,000-yard time trial followed by a 100-yard best effort. And this workout comes from Tower 26, Jerry Rodriguez. If you haven't heard the episode with him, please check it out. A lot of the philosophy, we have a similar philosophy in coaching triathlon, swimming. And if you haven't been up to his beach swims, I highly recommend that on Wednesday in Santa Monica. Amazing. But in the Tower 26 program, they have you do 1,000-yard time trial and 100-yard time trial. So we met up. We got there early for those athletes that wanted to participate in breathing, calming, using the breath to calm the body, calm the nerves. And you led us through an amazing flow of presence and calm and shifting awareness to our breath. And there were people there who had never even done this before, like had the awareness of, I'm just going to get his bone.
Clark is eating his bone. We did not do the thorough podcast prep. It's good that this is our show and that we don't have a guest that's like, get your stuff together, people. You really got to watch the video on these shows so you can get the Clark factor.
Clark is so funny. So, yeah, so you got in a circle after we met everyone, because there were some athletes we hadn't met yet. And you just took us through the previous pranayama, which all our athletes get and practice too, and it's available on our website. But it gives you that the time to calm the body, prime it for what's about to come. And that swim was a strong effort. I mean, I think there was 2,000 yards before we actually did.
Yeah, the warm-up was 2,000 yards.
The actual set, yeah.
So this is a tasty warm-up.
What's great is you have this framework and you have this plan and you have the type of workout, but everybody is at a different level and everybody approaches swims differently. And I think one of the really big focuses of what we believe in at Yogi Triathlete is inclusivity. Everybody is welcome. It doesn't matter if you do the 2,000 yards or if you do 500 yards. I don't care. It's that you show up, you participate, and you do what feels best for you, knowing that part of you wants to keep you safe, wants to keep you not fulfilling your fullest expression. And so, some people did most of the workout. Some people did all of it. But I think the energy on the deck was really cool because we had people who had finished it before, and then they were standing on the deck and cheering the others on for their, more so for their 100-yard
Yeah, it was so cool.
TT.
I got an applause when I finished my 100. And I think after I finished my TT, because there are some super fast people who were pretty much done with the workout. But yeah, it was cool. Community is beautiful. And, it all started with you back in the day when you were working a job that wasn't filling your soul, and me feeling like I was hitting a spiritual ceiling, and living in a place that, we were really struggling with the weather, and just looking up at the sky and saying, how can we create community? When none of this was clear to us, we just knew the big thing was we wanted the community. And I think that that's so key, is when we have something that we want to create or be a part of, or something that's been sitting on our heart, right? I love gardening. Well, there's a reason you love gardening. And what is it about that? And, and expand that. And then don't get caught up in how it has to unfold, because there'd be a lot of suffering there along the way.
Yeah. Attached to how it has to unfold, every step along the way. And if that step isn't met, you throw it out. And in that podcast, we talked about when we were living on the road. At 44 years old, I'm living out of my Honda Fit with my dog and my husband. All my possessions are in a carry-on suitcase. And I said, we woke up every morning and we would meditate, and then we lived by this mantra, all channels open. And that was a beautiful reminder. I think we really ingrained that into who we are and how we live. But I actually was just able to pass that along to an athlete I was talking to prior to us getting on this podcast, who is navigating an unexpected, quote unquote, unexpected, intense situation in their life, which is not what was on the perfect plan of what they thought they'd be doing over, this week.
And everything got thrown up in the air. And it's like, there's no doubt it needs this person's attention, and they're going to have to navigate things that they never thought they were going to have to navigate. But they had the beautiful thing that this person has is a beautiful vision of the end of how they saw this without all this upheaval that just came up to the surface in the last 24 hours. And I said, that's amazing. That there's the miracle right there, is that you have the clarity of the end result. And so stay in that feeling of what it is that you want to create, and be okay with whatever happens along the way, and just keep taking the next logical step. So it was interesting that nothing is a mistake, right? We listened to that podcast today. It brought me back to that time where it was like, okay, what's the next logical step? What's the next logical step? Okay, what do we do now? We're totally in the mud. What do we do now? And then that was all super fresh in my awareness, and then got this, text like, can you talk? And we got on the phone, and it was like, oh my God, it was all right there. So it's like when you are awake to the synchronicities of life, you realize that there is a bigger plan out there, and that you are supported, and that everything that comes into your awareness is there for a reason. And every struggle that you come up against, and maybe it was somebody who was there on Sunday that was like, what? No watch in the pool? Like whatever it is, you're going to use that information to assist somebody later on. 100%.
I forgot to mention the no watches. That was one of the caveats for the team swim on Sunday, was leave your watches at home. But it really, these challenges, leave your watches at home, the circumstance that you're speaking of, they really are temperature gauges into how we're navigating life. And it's one of those bars that measures like how attached are you to the way things have to be versus how willing are you to be open and welcoming of all things, and watching the flow.
Right. Like, when are you getting in the red zone?
Right. Yeah. When does it become intense? And can you see yourself intense so that you can come back down and understand over time the intensity will slowly diminish to that you get to a point where nothing rattles you. You're like, oh, I need to do that? Great. That's the next thing I need to do. That's complete. Okay, what is the next thing that needs to happen? And not get all caught up in like the what ifs and the future of a potential decision you're going to make. Just work with the decisions you're making in the moment.
Right. And watch who you share it with, because people love to like throw in their super unhelpful story about how they had a very similar situation and it was worst case scenario. So be very careful about who you share your dreams with. I mean, we were just reminiscing. I don't know if you were there. I can't remember. We were just reminiscing about all the things that people said to us when we kind of made the announcement back in Rhode Island about like, okay, we're giving everything up and we're moving into our car. Were you present for that conversation?
I have been there for previous conversations, but not recently.
Crazy stuff people would say to us. Like, they're like, you're going in your car? I'm like, yeah, in our Honda Fit. Like, it's great. Works great. It's efficient. And they're like, yeah, until it breaks down in the middle of the night and you get murdered. I'm like, okay. It's like, so not helpful. Thank you for the information.
Yeah. Very unhelpful.
Never looked at it that way.
Comments.
Thank you.
Right.
Then in my head, I'm like, get out of here. Get out of this energy. So anyway, that's I'll put a link to that podcast in the show notes. And if you don't know, if you're kind of just hopping on to the Yogi Triathlete podcast, there's a story there. You're seeing us now, and there's a big story that happened, between 2016 and 2018, where we faced our greatest fears, we experienced our greatest joys, we learned what it meant to truly adopt an abundance mindset and how to do that, and then also to be awake to the miracles, like miracle, 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 miracle. So when you go after your heart's desires, yeah, you'll be brought to your knees. But also if you remain steadfast and you stay the course and you let your yes be yes, that the universe will conspire to support you. And holy crap, it certainly does.
Yeah, and how it comes about is none of our business, if you can look at it like that. I was just thinking of if you had to script when you had that, sign that we're supposed to go to California, and you script out how we're going to get here and what we experience and where we are now, like that would not be what we saw on paper at all. It would not. We'd have a yoga studio already. We'd be open. We'd be thriving. We'd just be training and working at a yoga studio. And that would be it. Living in Encinitas probably. But that's not how it happened.
No.
So that's the miracle is like, or that's the celebration of life, is to see it all just unfold and be welcoming of what it is that presents itself, knowing that whatever it is going to get you to that vision that you have. So our vision was to create community with Yogi Triathlete. We're doing that.
Yeah, and it's not done. So we don't go, oh, it's done. We had 10 people at the pool. Like, let's just plug in. Let's just binge on Netflix. Like, we're good. No, the universe helps those that help themselves. And the universe is no joke, man. It asks you to step it up, step it up, step it up, step it up. So, all right, let's wrap up this part of the conversation. But I have one thing to ask you. Like, we learned so many things, right? But if there's one thing, like one lesson, like one word for one lesson that we were supposed to learn during that time, what did you pull away? What was like the essence of one of the lessons?
Patience is coming to my mind right now. Patience.
Yeah.
I felt that when we were like, oh, we gotta get to California. Like, we gotta get there. Like, and we were like, 2 months into the journey.
Yeah, and we were like, 2 months into the journey, and we ended up being like 3 hours from where we started. We're like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
What do we do? We're in New York City. We're actually closer than we were a month ago. A month ago, we were further away.
So patience. I don't know, what comes up for you?
Humility. That is such a beautiful quality. And a really it'll singe you. It'll singe you in the experience. It's like wicked. But yeah, humility. I'm so grateful for all of that. Those lessons. Yeah. It makes you really vulnerable and raw and really does a job on the ego, which is super helpful in training the ego, in making the ego your teammate, right? It's not your enemy. Never was. Just the part of you that forgot who you were. So the more you think it's your enemy, the more it's going to be your enemy. It's not your enemy. It's just your little baby self. It's your little small self that's always like, meh, I don't like it this way.
I need attention.
Yeah,
me.
I'm the best. I'm the worst. That person did this to me. La, la, la.
But they
deserved it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
That's a good question.
Okay, cool.
Are you going to read your journal?
Well, it's about the plank challenge. Isn't that interesting?
Okay.
I journaled about the plank challenge. So we're in the plank challenge.
So the plank challenge this month, and we do it probably once a year. I don't know how it started, why it started, doesn't matter.
But I know why you brought it back, because you were like, we got a bunch of new athletes.
Yeah.
And they're getting the plank challenge.
So we plank for the month.
Although the OG athletes are like, screw the plank.
I know, they're like, I'm already giving out my shoulders. The new ones are like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm already day 11.
I have 3 more minutes to to go.
I think I have 2 more minutes.
When did you do all this planking?
I did some planking down here while I was working.
It's all right. I only have 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's nothing.
All right. So what's the plank challenge?
So the plank challenge is whatever month. It's August this month. So you plank the amount of time that matches the date. So today is the 12th. So you would plank for 12 minutes. And it can be broken up any way you need to. So it can be broken up within the 24 hours. It can be 30 seconds. It can be 10 seconds. It can be 2 minutes. And it could be any form of plank. Forearm plank, high plank, side plank, a forearm, side plank, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Knees down, knees up. I've been doing reverse plank.
Doesn't matter. The first year, it was like, got to be forearm plank.
No, that was you. I never thought it had
belief.
to be forearm plank.
Then I got wrecked, like my shoulders and my back. And now I'm more aware of this challenge. And so it doesn't matter how it, like we were just talking about, it doesn't matter how it manifests, how 12 minutes comes to fruition. It's just get 12 minutes in. And so by the end of the month, you're August 31st, you're doing 31 minutes.
Yeah. And the day before, you did
was 30.
Yeah.
And then 29.
So I was journaling about this because I didn't think much about it. I just had this kind of knowing, like, I'm all in for this. And truth be told, the first couple of times we did it, I folded because I started getting behind in the 20s. And then I was like, all right, I've done enough, right? Like, so I didn't let my yes be yes. It happens. So I wrote this the other morning. Planking, okay, so it was August 9th. Planking for 9 minutes. Feeling a commitment this month, whereas in previous months, I don't believe I have ever fully committed to it. So why not? Why not face the resistance as it arises? Why not allow it to be there without resistance? Why not think about the 27th when there will be 27 minutes of planking, 26 the day before, and 28 the following day? Why not stay right here, right now, when I'm rested, not sore, peaceful, and on track with the plank challenge? Why not tap into the energy of people who have no doubt I will complete it and wake up to the truth that I can do anything with my mind focused on being one with the universal mind? Right? So if if my overall focus is to be one with the universal mind, like what? Plank challenge? That's no big deal. Like I created canyons and granite and koala bears and whales and humans and palm trees and volcanoes. I can do a plank challenge.
Yeah.
So that was a little excerpt
but it's just
from my journal.
Just one thing.
But it's,
it's one stimulus, planking. It's one you see what I'm saying? Like it's just one thing in your resistance.
Right, but resistance is resistance. So if I can just like see the resistance and not be resistant to the resistance, like that speaks volumes for resistance and other things that I do in my life. Right? And resistance is like you got to slow down and be present to really understand resistance. It's not an intellectual thing. Well, it's an intellectual thing in that anytime you go to better yourself, you're going to have resistance. That's just the way it is.
It's change.
Yeah. It's change. Perfect segue into something we were talking about today. So you want to feel the resistance. Feel the minute that you're like, oh, I'm not gonna do it. Feel it. Like it feels weird to me. It feels like it kind of feels like if I was to make it a quality, get into the feeling of what resistance is. It's like phlegmy. It's just kind of like this thing that's like, ugh, like I just want to clear it out. But it's sticky and it doesn't really go anywhere. And so can I act in the face of that? So change, change. You're going to have resistance to change because what? Go.
You don't have a relationship with what that person is. You have an idea and a belief of what that person would look like, but you don't have any experience in that person of who they are. And so that causes fear.
Yes. So the Jess who does the plank challenge through the 31st, she doesn't exist in this physical form yet. So there's a part of me that's like, who is she? I don't know her. Is my social status going to change? Is my friend circle going? I mean, this is actually what happens with the ego. It takes it all into effect because it's like that is unknown. And if she completes this plank challenge, is she going to make us do another one? Meaning this is the ego talking, because it hurts. Right? Last week, my C7 to T2 was like a cobweb of concrete. It's feeling a little better, but I had to take extra time to roll my neck and lay on the roller and open it up. And I need to do it after that set in the pool today as well, and the planking that we're doing today. But yeah, you don't know who that person is. And I think this is the essence of fear of success.
And to see it before you believe it, belief system. Like you need to see yourself acting this way first before you can fully embrace it. Versus saying, I just believe that this feels good to me, this change feels good to me, I want to pursue it. And the rest will take care of itself. So I think that's where we were talking about this on the trail, so we can jump into it if you want, but change.
Yeah, dude, jump.
Change. Like, why can't people change? We have these challenges, we have a plank challenge. So there's the person that's going to start the plank challenge and follow through with the plank challenge. And then after the plank challenge, what happens?
No planks.
No planks. Ever until the following plank challenge. So what does that challenge serve? How does it serve in changing? in 30 days, what can it do? If you're awake and ready, if you're aware, if you're actively participating in it, you'll start to see that you're standing up just like you did to the resistance that you shouldn't be planking, that you've done enough. We work out a lot. 5 minutes of planking today is great, even though I have 15.
I can give you 10 excuses right now, so easy, as to why I should stop the plank challenge. You're always going to have those.
You're always going to have them.
Yeah.
So this is the thing with change, and as a coach, I see it daily with our athletes and with myself. Changing. Like there's things I want to change. Be more on top of my training and my planning, and be more diligent about preparation for workouts. So why isn't it happening? And the reason it's not happening, I believe, is because it's so unknown that we default to what's comfortable. We default to what we've been doing because we know it. The mind has a reference point to it. So, for example, let's take swimming. You want to change swimming, the way that you swim. So instead of doing the things that can, create the change you want to do in swimming, you do it for one day. You're like, I'm on board. You do it. And then the next session you go to the pool, because you're not hitting a certain time or prescribed effort, you fall back to like, well, I do know that I can hit that time with fins and a snorkel, so I'm just going to do that because I know that works. And then soon things start to build momentum again, and now you're doing swims with fins and snorkel all the time because you get to hit the times. So we've kind of forgotten the thing that we signed up that we wanted to do to help us change, and now we're doing the thing that we have been doing in the past, which has kept us where we are. So I think change I know it's a point of conversation that we have quite often.
Well, it's a sticking point for so many people not, and I'm not immune to this.
No, we're not.
So many people not achieving what they want to achieve, and that creates stress and anxiety.
So they want to change. They have the desire to change. You give them the prescribed steps to change, and when they're butt up against those steps to change, they can't proceed.
Oh, they can proceed.
Or they don't want to proceed. Proceed.
They absolutely can proceed. They're choosing not to.
Right, it's a choice.
But it's not a conscious choice.
It's a habit. It's a habit they've created.
It's Diane Collins in Do You Quantum Think? She's got a chapter called The Myth of Choice. I absolutely love that chapter. It's such a good book. The myth of choice. We think we're choosing all the time. But if we're not in the pause, I was just writing about this morning. If we're not in the pause, we're not choosing, right? So we're working from the past, the conditioned mind, which is all about the past, and then the brain captures the consciousness of the conditioned mind. And then the brain's got these amazing neural pathways and the law of facilitation, the way neurons go down a certain path. And there's no choice being made. This is how Joe Dispenza talks about this all the time. Like, if you're not defined by a vision of the future, you're living from a record of the past. And that's how we're so efficient, right? Energy conservation. It's one of those it's one of the piece of the motivational triad. Energy conservation, staying safe and, staying alive, right? Because the unknown risks our survival. So the mind says, well, here's the circumstance, here's the plank challenge, or here's the change, or whatever. And now I'm going into the unknown, right? Because I've gone up to like 22 minutes. When it gets to like day 23, it's like, well, now I'm in the unknown. So I'm going to choose the known over the unknown because, well, I've gotten this far, I've survived, so it couldn't have been that bad, right? The mind will always choose the known over the unknown, even if it causes pain and suffering.
It's so true. And we created it all. I'll go back to just the small change I made at the pool, where I would always delay sitting on the deck, fix my goggles.
So glad you made that change.
And just hang out, check the temperature of the water, dip my toes in, splash it a little bit. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Oh, got to check my phone. Did anybody text me? Like everything to do except get in the pool.
And the whole time you wanted to improve your swimming.
Whole time I want to improve swimming and be the swimmer I know I can be. So one day, I know you do this all the time. You just get to the pool and you jump in. So I did the same thing. I can't even recall the day, but I got there, put my goggles on, and I think the clock hit 00, whatever minute, and I just jumped in the pool.
It's like that Mel Robbins 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah,
like you
go.
didn't do that, but you got in between the 5 and the 1, where like between where the brain starts to come in with that conditioning, and you acted without even thinking about it.
From that point, it's probably been about 2 years now where I get to the pool and I jump in. I don't even look at the clock. Like, it doesn't matter if it's 00 anymore. It's just like, get in the water. The first thing to do is get in the water. Start swimming. Worry about like all the other stuff as your goggles fog up or whatever, what the workout is. Like, you'll work your way through it, but get in the water. And so that's created a habit of like, no more delay, right? And this is just a little bit of the delay I'm clearing out. So it's like a jar of peanut butter. When you finish the jar of peanut butter, there's still peanut butter in the jar, and you got to scrape the edges of the peanut butter. And I just scraped a little bit of it off of my delay karma. And I see it in a lot of other things I do in racing and training and going after it, is the delay is a little bit less. So what's the point of that? Well, I observed with the help of my beautiful wife that I delay when I get to the pool. She doesn't, I do. Well, I want to change that. Okay, well, how do you do it? You act. You take an action. You put that awareness into action. Because we can be aware all we want and never do anything. But let's be aware and put the change that we want to see into action. And so I was aware that I was delaying, and so now I act and jump in the pool. That's just one example. And that may seem not, big enough for people that are listening, but what it does is it sparks interest that there's more available, and if you more opportunities available, and if you just keep bit by bit, a little bit every day over a long period of time, tune into these things that are keeping you safe and not embracing the unknown. If you're aware to them, you're going to see them. You're going to see them constantly. Constant opportunities to make change if you take action upon those changes. And that's, I think, where people get hung up in the action steps. The whole, it has to be a certain way, or I need to read the book first, or, I got to wait till, September 1st before I start this. And
you can read the book for sure. Definitely read the book. But as you're reading the book, like you read a couple of pages, well, what'd you pull away from those pages? Put those into action. But you touched upon something which is really important. So change is not possible without awareness, because you have to be aware of when you're in the cycle that you want to change, right? You have to be aware. So present moment awareness is huge. Present moment is also huge because the present moment is the only time change can occur. Mm-hmm. But awareness changes nothing. This is another thing that can cause a lot of stress and anxiety in people's lives, because they're like, I see it. I'm doing it all the time. I'm catching myself. I'm seeing it. I'm aware of it. And you can stay there. And that is like the road to nowhere. It's just, it's so frustrating to be on that road. You have to put it into action. You have to take the action. When you see it, act. When you see it, act. When you see it, act, as opposed to just seeing it. See it and act. Awareness is the base. You have to have the awareness, but the awareness changes nothing. It changes nothing. You have to act. And once you act, the universe goes, oh, thank God, she's acting, finally. Ugh, now we can throw her some bones. But we're not going to throw her shit until she starts acting. You got to take the first step, and then you'll be supported. You can't just know it and not do it. You gotta do it. That's more important than knowing it.
But I read this book and it really was insightful and I took a lot away from it. What did you take away from it?
And what have you put into action?
And what have you put into action?
So I ask that question a lot. And I don't get a lot of clear answers.
What's the most common thing you get when you ask that?
I get a broad answer of, oh my gosh, I took so much away. So then I say, well, what's one thing that you took away? And typically they can't remember what the one thing is.
So if you can't remember what it is, how can you actually put it into action?
You can't.
So what they do is basically talk about what they read, because with the feeling that they read it, I read it, so this must be in me now. Like I read it, so
But the thing is that all the information's already within you, right? It's like accessing the information. So we overload ourselves. I keep thinking about our podcast with Sid. We overload ourselves with so much stuff that we end up getting into a confusion state where nothing is sticking, right? So that's why I say, like, read a page. Like with the Bhagavad Gita, read a page. Read one page. For most people, that's not a book that you can just zip through. Read a page. There might be one word that sticks out to you. It could be love. It could be detachment. It could be courage. There's a lot of good words in that book. And then take the next day, take the next 24 hours and see where you are being courageous and be aware of when you could be more courageous. Sometimes we think about people and we're like, oh, I should give them a call.
Give them a call.
Give them a call. Be courageous. You're feeling that for a reason. You could be saving their life. You have no idea what's going to be on the other end of that.
But what gets caught up in that is like, are they going to be there? How long are we going to talk?
Well, and also I have to read the whole book start to finish. And I say, just get a book and open the book. If it's a fictional book, you want to read the tale. But if it's not a fictional book, like if it's a book that's,
Untethered Soul.
Untethered Soul.
Open it. I just gave that to an athlete today.
Power of Now. Just open it up.
Anywhere.
Autobiography of a Yogi. Open it up. The Yoga Way. Open it up. I'm looking at our bookshelf right now. Yoga Sutras. Open it up. Like some
Yamas
people,
and Niyamas.
I've talked to several people who have the Yoga Sutras and they're like, haven't opened it. It's like, oh my God, that book is like, just like vibrating wisdom. Open it up.
Well, isn't that like the foam roller? Like, do you have a foam roller? And they're like, yeah, I've got one. Do you use it?
Question number 2. Do you use it?
No, but I should. Oh my God. It's like, you probably should, but you're not.
Yeah. So awareness is great. You got to cultivate the awareness, but the best friend to awareness is action. Yeah. All right. You wanted to talk a little bit about nutrition because we've been talking a lot with the team and, races are back and people are racing and it's fabulous. I'm loving it. So what do you want to touch upon with nutrition? Everyday nutrition? Race nutrition?
I mean, we could talk about a bunch of things, but I want to break this up into 2 things. One, I want to talk about race nutrition and finding the plan for you. But I also want to talk about what our favorite dishes are. At the moment, just that we've been, really, really honing in on because it doesn't have to be complicated. And that's the conversations I'm having with athletes it's getting overcomplicated and it doesn't have to be that way. It can be super simple. Daniel, one of our coaches, travels up here to come train with me and he's always got a cooler with, I guarantee sliced watermelon in there and a smoothie, always. But he takes the time to prep it. It's automatic because he knows the ingredients and has them in his cabinet, and then it's always there. So we're starting with, race nutrition. It's just the questions I've been getting are specific to athletes because, different distances, different climates, different performance expectations. So have a framework. Right? You got a framework when you first started, doing these long distance races that gave you an outline of what you should take based on your weight and performance and, sweat rate and, where you anticipated your bike being and run being. So That's a framework. Now let's go back to what we just talked about. That's basically like awareness. Now, do you put that plan into action? Be diligent with that first 2 or 3 times. Be very diligent with how that nutrition goes. So you're going a long bike ride, 5 hours, 4 hours, whatever. Be diligent with your nutrition. Every 10 or 15 minutes, take in something. See how that feels, right? All too easy, or all too often, we can just get off of that plan when we go by a 7-Eleven and pick up a cola or a Len Larry's. What is it called? Lenny?
Is this like an autobiography?
Yeah, it's actually for me. It's all too easy to do that. But so try these things, like get a framework, try it, and then start to tweak it. And you're always going to be tweaking it because things change. Your body changes, your performance expectations change, weather conditions change, your daily diet changes, which I think has a big effect on what you can consume during training and racing. So the point is to get this framework going. Write down what you should be taking in, what you believe you should be taking in, and be diligent about it. Every 15 minutes, what are you taking in? Then put it into action. Then detail out how that felt. How did the day feel? Like what was working, what wasn't working? How is it conveniently accessed when you're doing the sport? Like, are you stopping to like open a package of a bar?
You gotta train yourself to eat on the bike, drink on the bike, eat on the run, drink on the run. There's no stopping in races to like eat or drink. You got to learn how to do that stuff. It's a part of the discipline, don't you think?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
It's free time. So, point here is to come up with a plan. Be flexible with the plan. But first, work through the plan, understand what works for you and what doesn't, and then begin to modify for you, not based on somebody else. So everybody's got my nutrition plan in our team page, like what I use, and then that's the framework. And then they start to tweak it for what works for them.
Yeah, my God, they didn't have liquid calories when we first started. There was like Gatorade and those power bars that broke your jaw and power gels. Like that was it. Like there was not a lot. Then I think Hammer came out. They've been around for a long time. There's so much now, and there's so much, science behind flavors and how that relates to temperature and which ones are better, and different ways to get calories in. Liquid calories, that's fabulous for me. Liquid calories. There's picky bars. There's all different kinds of like little nuggets and gels and
those new gels from Goo. The liquid.
Oh, liquid energy.
Liquid energy.
There's so much.
Like, for me, I can't sip them down. Like when like a regular gel, I open the package and it gets all over me. Like, for some reason, I can't do it. But I tried one day to dump 3 of them into a soft bottle and fill the rest with water and use that on my bike and run. And I felt amazing. I felt so good.
So you don't dilute it at all. You just put like 3 of them in.
And then put water in.
Oh, and then you do
fill
water.
it up with water. So they are diluted.
Oh, so because do they recommend that you drink water with them?
I don't know. I'm assuming they would. It's still you need more than that. It's 100 calories, but it's like a little bit of liquid.
Oh, that's cool. So do you feel like you've upped, because you have been more diligent with your nutrition? Like I was making these date balls and you were like, oh, I want to use these on my ride, but you're like, but I'm not going to use. Do you feel like Kona has kind of called you to a new level? Like there's going to be no Lenny and Larry's out at the lava fields. Like, and this race is going to test you. So it's kind of it's asked you to come up to a new level. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
And even be flexible with my hard lines. Like I will be in the next few weeks adding Gatorade into my bikes for sure. Yeah, cool. Because it's on course. And who knows if a bottle drops that I have my Goo Roctane in, I'm going to have to supplement.
The gut.
So train the gut.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Challenge the belief that's like, I can't have Gatorade, like I can't have it.
And challenge the belief that I can't have Gatorade because it upsets my stomach. Well, it upset your stomach that day or those days or those weeks or that year. But you're different now. Mm-hmm. And what if your mindset was, hey, Gatorade works really well for me? Because it's going to be whatever you believe it to be.
Right.
That's it. Like, you guys, we know. Like, okay, you want another book? Biology of Belief by, what's his name? I love him. He's on my phone.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
I always forget his name. He looks like Einstein. Bruce Lipton.
Bruce Lipton.
Yeah, Biology of Belief. If you're like science and you love all that stuff, you will love Biology of Belief. But this guy was, like a scientist, and he was recognizing, cliff notes here, recognizing like what he was teaching, this finite science, was like, it wasn't true to what he was experiencing in his life and in the research that he was doing, which was basically like, whatever we believe is what it's going to be. That the power of thought and the power of belief and the power of the mind supersedes all. So, really good book.
So what you believe
like
is most likely going to
happen. If you're sciencey, check out Bruce Lipton. You'll love his stuff. Also, Dispenza's good too for that kind of stuff.
I was just going to say something about that. The belief that you've tried everything. Going back to nutrition, like, I've tried everything, it doesn't work for me. I challenge that through and through, because there isn't
everything
that
seems like pretty vast.
Yeah, pretty like every single condition you've tried and it hasn't worked. So I'll be adding that in. But
yeah, watch the limiting beliefs. That's a limiting belief. I've tried everything, it doesn't work, or
Yeah.
That's when you fight for your limitations. Because it's easy. It's easy to just say, well, I've tried everything. Now I don't have to deal with it.
Right.
I'll just make do. No, don't settle for that. That's like, an apartment with low ceilings. Like, don't settle for that.
We've got high ceilings.
Go for the high ceilings. Go for the upper management position.
Do you have anything else you want to say about that nutrition?
I would also, if you are starting to really dive into this and perhaps you don't feel like you've had the performance that you know that you're capable of, I would look at the amount of calories you're bringing into your body temple during training and racing. I'm a minimum of 250 an hour. And what I typically do, what I found works really well for me, is I front load a lot of calories. I'll take upwards of 700 in the first 2 hours. I've been known to take 900 in the first 2 hours. It just works really well for me. I have a very strong digestive fire. So understand your digestion as well. Tracking your digestion is huge, you guys. Because we can say that, this meal has 1,400 calories, but if we're not chewing our food, if we're eating when we're stressed, or we're talking somebody's ear off as we're eating, we're not getting the full digestion of the food. We're not getting that perfect amount of calories we thought we were getting, and we're leaving undigested food in our bellies, which creates toxin, which is a baseline for disease. So, see what you're taking in. The thing that we see the most is that people are not taking in enough calories, not in their training, and certainly not in their everyday nutrition.
Is a huge
gap. I would be, if I ate as little as what I see a lot of people eat when they give us, and just FYI, thank you everyone who works with us on nutrition, because you're so honest. It's amazing. But that allows us to assist them in, finding what works for them. Because that's what it is. It's finding what works for them. It's not what works for me doesn't work for you. It might not work for them. So we got to empower them and give them the guidelines and, give them guidance, not guidelines, but guidance on how to find what works for you, because your body is unique. And I see a lot of people just not taking in a lot of calories. Forgetting to eat, that is also an interesting thing, forgetting to eat. So that's, present moment awareness. So starting your day maybe with a few breaths, being present. Like, when we are present, our internal rhythm slows down, and, we won't forget vital things like eating. We need to eat.
Pretty important. So
we're almost at an hour.
Favorite food right now, or favorite meal for you?
Simple,
easy.
I know. I'm like shocked that I'm like pausing, because usually there's nothing, because I'm immediately thinking it needs to be dinner. But I'm going to go with what I had for breakfast this morning before our trail run. In a bowl, I had fresh blueberries, fresh blackberries, chia seed, coconut shreds, maple syrup, little maple syrup on there, and then sunflower butter. I love that. So it's not too heavy, and the sunflower butter is not like as fatty or oily as peanut butter or almond butter, and also sunflower butter works better for my dosha, for my constitution of fire. And fueled me really well for the first hour of our trail run today, and it digests really well. So I love that. I love berries, and found out that berries are actually really good for my constitution. So that's like my favorite. I love breakfast, always have.
Yeah, breakfast is solid.
I love breakfast.
Really solid.
What's your fave?
Just recently, it's been burrito, like tofu scramble burritos. I feel like I have that really locked down. Like when you were gone, I literally would like every other day, because it lasted 2 days. It was like tofu in the pan, turmeric and cumin in the pan. Then goes in the vegetables, broccoli, squash, zucchini, red pepper, and then the shredded kale would go on top, and then black beans. And then I would just keep adding things to this pan, the one pan we had on the High Vibe tour. And it would just keep getting more and more colorful. It was so awesome. And then throw it in a quinoa flour tortilla that we get from Trader Joe's, and some Cholula, and that was it. And I had 1 or 2 of those a night.
How are you cooking that without oil? Because we've stopped cooking with oil. So how do you do it?
The water in the tofu is enough so that the stuff doesn't like...
And red peppers have a lot of water content
yep.
in them as well.
Yeah, good point.
Zucchini too, because like if you've ever left a zucchini on the counter, you see it sweat, which I love. That's a miracle right there, that the zucchini sweats.
Yeah.
So cool.
And that whole meal takes 5 minutes.
I know.
Once the pan is heated, it takes 5 minutes.
Yeah. Tofu scramble. It's in our cookbook. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Cool.
Really amazing. Anything else?
No, I just want to touch upon what?
Retreat.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
because
talk about that.
Speaking of food, we did a 1-day retreat, myself, Valerie Griffiths, and Megan Layton, who are my Costa Rica co-hosts. And as of right now, we have 1 room left for Costa Rica. So we are going to be sold out. If it's still available when this launches and you want to be on that retreat, wait no longer.
What about a wait list? If they can't
we'll start a wait list after that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm excited. So excited.
So what happened at this retreat?
So we did a 1-day retreat. It was from 9 to 2, and we had everyone arrive, and we had some fruit out and some amazing gluten-free vegan blueberry bread. It was like awesome. And then we did Megan and Valerie co-taught a strong vinyasa practice, and then I finished it off and then led everyone in about a 20-25 minute meditation, and then we went into silence. Then Meg broke that silence and started a conversation about mindful eating and conscious meal preparation. And then we created, I created the menu, which I love to do. So grateful that they allowed me to do that. I created the menu. We had 3 salads, basically. We had a quinoa salad, we had a vegan caprese salad, and we had a kale salad. And then we also had some hummuses and vegan flatbreads and things like that. And then I made some bliss balls for dessert. And we had a silent eating for lunch. And then we all came together and we talked about like how weird silence is, like when a couple of our athletes were there, Liz and Amy were there, and they were sitting at the same table. And Liz was saying, she was just like, this is crazy. Like I never get to see Amy. This is the first time I'm meeting her and I can't talk to her. And all the impulses that you get in silence, and also like how nice it is to be able to chew your food and experience your food. And then we finished with, I started a very restorative yoga pose, and then Megan led them through a yoga nidra, and then Valerie took them to a totally different atmosphere with a gong bath. She had just gotten a gong, and if you've never had a gong bath, I dare to say you've never lived. the whole place was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's just wild. The gong sounds
She's got a beautiful studio too.
Way better than the voice I just made. Yeah, it was amazing. So what I'd love to do is I have the recipes for those salads, and I'm going to put them up in Patreon and share them with our patrons. So if this is a podcast that's, like assisting you and just maybe enjoying an hour of your life, or you're actually taking some things and putting it into action, consider being a part of Patreon. You guys, this is what keeps this podcast and the Awake Athlete podcast commercial free. First and foremost, it allows us to continue the podcast. The expenses of the podcast have gone up enormously in the last year, and we're so grateful that we are able to cover those expenses through the Patreon community. So thank you, all the patrons that are there, that show up. And of course, you get great perks, right? Like not only were we doing the podcast, but we've got yoga classes, we've got recordings, we've got a new bi-weekly 30-minute class, we've got the Awake Athlete, we've got the Awake Athlete plus a one-on-one session with me every month. So check it out, patreon.com/Yogi Triathlete. And by the time this launches, those recipes will be up there, and they are amazing. The quinoa salad is insane.
The bliss balls.
So good. Oh, yes, and the bliss balls are delicious.
So before you left for back east, you made a whole batch to test out a new recipe, and so I was left with all of these, a huge bowl in the fridge, and yeah, they were just gone too quickly. Do you need to make more?
I will, yeah, I do. I want to make I'll make the ones that, the perfected recipe of the ones that I left you with.
Recipe, yeah.
Yeah, I'll make that. That's the one that's going to go up in Patreon. Cool. They're awesome. All right. Thank you guys, for tuning in to another show. We're extremely grateful. This is a dream come true, and you're all a part of it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for allowing us to do what we love and be here in full service of all of you.